Hello everyone, welcome to episode 50 of this awesome, amazing Osu Let's Play series. In the last episode, I talked about mindset and I guess what constitutes a good and bad mindset. And in this episode, I want to talk about something somewhat related, but more on the side of focusing on skills and weaknesses in particular, and that is in the form of hyperfocusing. So I will spend this episode sort of giving my thoughts on that. I know there are two notable videos on this, at least in my mind. One is by Spaza and the other is by Zilver. So I will have both of those linked in the description, but I do want to give my own personal thoughts on hyperfocusing as well. But before we get into that, I would like to shout out as usual that I live stream every single day over at twitch.tv. So that will be linked in the description as well. But if you would like to hang out with me live or watch me play this game, ask me a question, anything like that, would be very, very happy if you stop by, say hello, and bonus points also. If you tell me that you came from this Let's Play series, we'll be very, very happy to see you there. So, yes, as usual, a couple just fun, random maps that I want to show you guys that I will play through during this episode. Hidden Hard Rock. Okay, I do have a Hidden Hard Rock score on this map, but I don't feel like playing Hidden Hard Rock right now, so I'm just going to play no mod. Okay. So, hyperfocusing is basically the idea that like you have a weakness that you want to get better at, and you just like spend all your time playing nothing but that weakness in order to get better at it. And honestly, the best analogy that I have for like hyperfocusing and like how it can be detrimental is like, okay, so if any of you guys have ever played Pokemon, hopefully this analogy will make a lot of sense. But let's say your team is like level 30, then you have one Pokemon that's level 15, and you want to train it up. So at first, you put it to the start of your party, and then as you're first getting that Pokemon like up to speed with the rest of your party, you're like switch training, right? Or switch training. So you are like, you know, sort of bouncing between like the other Pokemon in your party, but then as soon as you can, like as soon as the level 15 Pokemon gets to a point where it can start soloing the fights, then you know you start doing that because you want to get like you want to get it up to speed with the rest of your skills as quickly as possible. But what tends to happen when you hyperfocus is that you basically it's like how do I describe this? Like that level 15 Pokemon is now like level 40 maybe, but the rest of your party is still level 15. And I don't know, hopefully that sort of makes sense. That's like one side to hyperfocusing, is like at some point you have to like take a step back. Like maybe you've improved that skill to the point where like it's now better worth your time as far as like balancing out your skill set, so to speak, or in this case your Pokemon party. It's better worth your time to like, you have to reassess, like, you know, every now and then you just gotta open your party and check all the levels and figure out what Pokemon should be in the front. That's basically all there is as far as like figuring out what skills to prioritize, I guess. But specifically about hyper-focusing, there's a couple things. Okay, so for one, you sometimes end up focusing on the wrong skill, or you misdiagnose the problem, and you basically are wasting practice time. And what I mean by that, let me switch maps first. Oh, wait, I'm in my favorites. Okay, there we go. So let's say, okay, this is, I think, the biggest example, I'm pretty sure. So let's say you are trying to get into Hard Rock, and you just cannot act Hard Rock at all. And you're like, wow, my accuracy sucks on Hard Rock. It must be because of OD10. Let me just like practice it by doing like AR8 OD10 edits and just get my accuracy and reading really good. You know, Rohulk method, let's go. I'm gonna be so good at this game. And basically, long story short, it was not actually your accuracy that was the issue. It was actually your reading, high AR reading. You couldn't read AR10, and that is why you can't play Hard Rock properly. Misdiagnosing the issue is going to end up with you focusing on like the wrong thing. Or sometimes you, okay, so another good example is like, let's say you are trying to practice stamina, like stream stamina. And you're like, okay, well, I just don't practice stamina, so let me just like drill a bunch of long stream practice maps. And you might, okay, so basically you could have bad stamina, sure, and maybe it's because you don't practice it, but it could just be because your technique is really, really bad, like your tapping technique. And if you never take a step back to work on your tapping technique first, like really get to the root of the problem, then you might just like waste your time. I mean, obviously he might be developing like raw tapping stamina, like skill cap ability, I guess, but it's sort of uncovered, or like it's getting covered up by your bad technique, basically. So yeah, please keep that in mind, basically. So with hyperfocusing, my point there is that you have to make sure that, like, okay, if you really want to just focus on one specific thing, then you really have to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you're really getting to the root of the cause, or like the root of the issue. So yeah, let's see. Other thing. Okay, so in general, when you're hyper focusing, that basically is characterized by what is it? Just only playing one skill and sort of neglecting everything else. That's sort of the characteristic of hyper focusing. And what happens there? Oh, when you see it. Sorry. So when you only focus on one specific skill and you neglect everything else, then those other skills are going to end up getting rusty. And can storm up. Okay, let's see. I think it's pretty clear, right? So if you watch OCPHD, or even if you've just seen the chart, it's pretty clear that like every skill in this game is pretty connected in one way or another. Like for any given map, you have to read it, you have to aim to the circles, and you also have to tap the circles. There's a whole bunch of, you know, complicated stuff regarding that as well. New map, by the way. Next map. It's banger. This map is so good. Okay, anyway. Absolute classic. Okay. So you have to make sure that you are not neglecting any other skills, because you will obviously end up getting rusty. If, like, let's say streaming is, like, your tapping hand is what's bottlenecking you, so you spend like 2 or 3 weeks, literally, you don't even play normal maps. You're like, I'm just gonna get so good at streams. So you just play long stream practice maps. And it might end up like, okay, sure, you might end up getting better at tapping, but your other mechanics in this game are gonna get really, really rusty. And obviously, there's a difference between like getting rusty and straight up losing your ability to do something. Because if you are just rusty, then you can obviously regain that skill a lot faster than if you were learning it for the first time. It's sort of like brushing up on a language that you used to speak. Like, let's say you took a couple years of Spanish in high school and you hated it and you just kind of didn't use it after that. Then if you were to like try learning Spanish again, a lot of things would probably come back to memory that you just kind of forgot about. So in that sense, obviously, it's not like it's the biggest deal in the world if you end up, you know, what is it? If you end up like getting rusty on some skills. But another thing with like improving your weaknesses is that, also sort of explained by the OCPHD chart, it's usually not just one thing that is preventing you from getting better at a certain skill. Like there might be 3, so let's say there's like 3 different like sub skills that go into like streaming, for example. So there's like tapping technique, and then there's also like stream stamina, and then there's like flow aim, and then you have to be able to read the streams with flow aim, and you have to like you know, just a bunch of like random fundamental stuff. Aim tapping synchronization, that's a term that I came up with recently. It's not in OCPHD, but it's basically just a combination of actually, I guess it's just consistency, to be honest, but yeah, anyway. Usually what people mention regarding like hyperfocusing is like, if you actually practice like things unrelated to the skill you're trying to get better at, then you might actually improve at that skill as well. And another good example of this, so let's just use streaming again as an example. But, oh, actually, okay, no. Another example, just to use a different skill, is high AR. So let's say you are like really, really bad at high AR. Or, okay, let's say, how do I word this? Let's say your speed, like raw speed mechanics, like tapping speed and stuff, and aim speed, they're not the best, but you're trying to get better at that stuff, so you can play D2 maps. And you just practice it on like, what is it, BPM edits. So those end up getting capped at AR10 usually, because it's just like no mod, right? BPM edit, or usually, but anyway. Then basically you can spend your whole life practicing speed, but if you never practice high AR, okay, so like when you play high AR maps, it could just be that like the AR is too fast for you, and so the map itself feels very fast. And for that reason, oh, nice SS. Yeah, so for that reason, then when you go back to like trying to improve speed maps, it basically, if you can't read the high AR, then you're not going to be able to play that map, and it's going to feel like you're just not fast enough. But then just improving high AR, even though it has no correlation with your tapping speed or aim speed, it still is going to make you play better on those maps that are like very speedy, both in tapping mechanics, tapping requirements, and also AR requirements. So hopefully that makes sense, and that's sort of one of the merits of sort of not hyper focusing as a whole. But also, like, just at the end of the day, there's like, what is it? Oh, wait, I want to play the top tip actually. I've never played this. Wait, I guess it's AR10. Oh crap, 2016. Oh shoot, easy, no fail. Okay, interesting. Haven't played this map in so long apparently. Oh, it's AR10. Okay, okay, you can do this. Okay. So another thing is that like fundamentals, like honestly, there's no like limit to like how much improving your fundamentals will help you in this game. I feel like, oh dude, I don't want to play this. Okay, you know what? Just suffer through it. It's fine. So like there's a lot of like little things with your gameplay. Like if you just practice moving your aim in like straighter lines between objects rather than like if you tend to be like very curvy with your aim, if that makes sense, and like you don't really snap to notes, just practicing that, even though it might have no correlation to like another skill that you're trying to train, just practicing like very raw like cursor mechanics is really helpful in just playing harder stuff in general. Basically, okay, one way, then this is another Pokemon analogy, but did I mention this in a previous episode? I have no idea, but basically you can pretend that like two Pokemon on your team, okay? One is fundamentals and the other is skill cap, and you enter a double battle. So one of them, okay, so if you really want to have lopsidedness between your fundamentals and your skill cap, then one of them, the skill cap's gotta be way stronger so it can 1v2 the map, basically. Like let's say this map is the opponent and my skill, like if my fundamentals are bad, then like it's just gonna die in one hit, right? So my skill cap had better be able to 1v2. Like it's possible, right? If you're just super over leveled, like if your starter is like level 70 by the 4th gym, then obviously you're gonna be able to 1v2 the double battle. But getting your fundamentals also to level 70 is going to make your wins just like that much more like confident, basically. And it'll be less like awkward, right? Because like playing a double battle in as a 1v2 is not how it's supposed to happen, obviously. I mean, even if you don't play Pokemon, it's in the name, it's a double battle. It's supposed to be 2v2, but yeah. So that's another thing regarding, I guess, hyper-focusing on just like a skill cap thing, because you could be like, oh shoot, I keep losing these double battles. My skill cap is level 70, but maybe it should be level 80, and then I'll win. Because I keep just getting like random misses. But in reality, your skill cap, your fundamentals are like level 30, and you're like, oh, no wonder. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Also, like if your skill cap like dies, like if it gets toxic or something, then like you have no backup. You're just screwed. Your fundamentals are not going to be there for you. So you do really want to make, and that's another one of the, I guess, merits of having a balanced skill set in that sense. So let's see, I guess, what other things regarding hyper-focusing? I think that's pretty much it. Another thing is like, you might just, okay, I'm trying to think of like how to word this. Because I think improving, okay, so let's say like every skill on the OCPHD chart, you have like a certain level. It's like a Pokemon, for example, just to sort of keep the analogies the same. Like you have a level between 1 and 100 on each skill in the game. And just improving at like the other skills in the game are going to make your gameplay that much better, I guess, to the point where even if your like tapping stamina or tapping speed hasn't really improved, maybe like your reading is like way better now, or like your aim control is really good now, then basically then also okay, another thing, okay. Okay, let's see. I think I can play one more map. Yeah, one more map. Okay, so I discussed this in some video, but I don't remember what it was. But basically, oh, I think it was my Nerf Control 101 video. But okay, I mentioned something called cognitive load. Is that what it was? But anyway, basically, imagine your brain has like 100 mana to spend on like different skills in this game. So obviously you have like tapping, reading, and aim that all require some mana. But then if your brain is focused on other stuff, then that's also going to take up some mana. Like the 100 mana carries into like external stuff outside of Osu as well. So like if you're sleep deprived, you have less mana to work with. I think. And in general, honestly, when you're sleep deprived or tired, then your general coordination, and this is even outside of just Osu stuff, but your general like coordination, like your brain's ability to coordinate stuff is not very intact when you're sleep deprived. But yeah, anyway, so basically, okay, so let's say how do I word this? So let's just say the 3 inputs of gameplay, right? Reading, tapping, aim, they all take a certain amount of mana, and the higher level that skill is, the less mana it's going to take to use. If that makes sense. So for example, let's say there's like a stream map, like a stream stamina is a crazy map, and it's also like space streams, so you can't really aim it that well. Oh, okay, actually space streams is a really good example. So let's say space streams sort of like are just killer for you always. They're just so uncomfortable because like you run out of stamina and then you just like start note locking everything. So basically, let's say the stamina aspect is taking up like 60 mana because it's so tapping intensive. Then you only have like 40 mana maximum to split between like aim and reading and whatever miscellaneous stuff. But basically, if you level up your tapping so that it doesn't take so much mana to use anymore, like if your tapping gets so much more comfortable on a map, then even though your aim didn't get better at all, you have more mana to spend on your aim. And speaking of having mana to spend on your aim, clearly you cannot aim right now. That was awesomeness. Okay, anyway. Hopefully that makes sense though. So regarding like hyper focusing on, okay, let's say like you're trying to get better at like aiming streams. I don't know what is happening to my throat right now, but anyway, just practicing your aim. Okay, obviously that'll help, but also practicing stamina is going to help with aiming streams as well. Just because like you're not going to have to think so hard about that skill because you're more comfortable on it, and so you can spend more of your energy sort of focused on another skill. So hopefully that I think, to summarize, I think balancing the types of maps that you play is really important. And obviously, okay, it's important to like spend a lot of time on your weaknesses. I think obviously that's like the best way to improve, but don't neglect other skills because that, I don't know, it can only do you harm, I feel like. So I think always, like every now and then, just go back to some other maps or like random maps and just like challenge yourself in new ways. I think you'll be surprised sometimes at like the certain kinds of maps or like the skills that are required for some maps that like you didn't even know existed in this game. Like, yeah, I don't know, hopefully that sort of makes sense. And also, as usual, watch OCPHD because I have sort of broken down all the skills in the game, how they tie into each other. So if you're very interested in sort of learning about how to effectively focus on your weaknesses. Oh, miss. Oh, wait, oh, I took my pen off. Are you kidding me? Oh, yeah, nice map. 0 stars. No, okay, 10 stars. Oh yeah, I think those are more or less my thoughts, at least the thoughts that come to mind when it comes to hyper-focusing on weaknesses, things like that. But yes, thanks to those of you who suggested this topic in the comments, by the way, and also some people have suggested topics to me through my live stream Twitch chat also, which I appreciate. But yeah, let's see. Okay, so this marks, okay, so those of you who have not left the video yet and actually care about what I say at the end, the next episode, okay, so this episode marks the end, or I guess sort of a halfway point of this Let's Play series. So I'm planning on, I guess, cutting it off or soft ending the series at 100 episodes. So I've been uploading these every single day, and this is pretty much the half point mark in that sense. So what I want to do in the second half of the series, I want to switch to the Osu Laser client, which is the new update, basically new updated client of Osu, and the remainder of the Let's Play series will be done on that client. So look forward to that. But yeah, okay, so with that in mind, also, if you have specific things that you want me to do on Osu Laser, you can suggest those in the comments. But yeah, also be sure to check out the other videos if you're very interested in this topic of hyperfocusing and what other Osu players have to say on the topic. Do check out Zilver and Spaz's videos, those will be linked in the description. But yes, also do subscribe to my channel. If you, okay, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're already subscribed, hopefully, but I upload every day, so do check out my channel, watch my other videos, and check me out on Twitch also. Stream every day, would be very happy to have your company. But yes, with that, see you guys next time.